This is the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT concept.
Gesundheit.
Yes, it is quite the mouthful. Basically, the upshot to this is all the goodness that an electric vehicle brings. The downside to this is all of the badness electric vehicles bring to the table, which Dodge tries to solve, but I don't necessarily think they're doing it in the right fashion. We'll touch on that in a second. We'll talk on some things like the styling is obviously, especially in like the rear haunches, is very reminiscent of the current Charger and this Charger from the late 60s. They say that the grille is inspired by the 1968 Charger, even though it's a faux grille. There's actually aero that goes through that to, again, give the appearance of a vehicle that is a muscle car with the aero properties and things like that that are with electric. You'll notice in this, they didn't put the bumper guards on, so if you're waiting for that.
That'll be there for production, don't you worry.
Yes, so let me hit you with some of the highlights. Erupt, which is the letter E, capital R, U-P-T. It is a multi-speed transmission with an electromechanical shifting experience that's pure Dodge. They don't go into a great much detail about that. They say right here in Dodge's thing that it is in fact a multi-speed transmission. So that is kind of good because most EVs don't have transmissions anymore. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Really hope that
the companies have kind of delved into that, like trying to make EVs like shiftable, more engaging, more like enthusiast based. So it's at least nice to see Dodge like attempting it here, but we'll get more into it in a little bit.
So like I said, that's a good thing, right? Like we all thought the EVs would just put the final nail in the coffin that is the manual transmission. I don't know if this will have a actual manual where you're using a clutch or one of those like an H pattern that's just a digital, almost like a flappy paddle kind of thing, but in an H pattern. I'm not 100% sure on that. They didn't go into great detail about that. They're just talking about, wow, look at us. This is where it loses me. I cannot stress this enough. It has the Fratzonic chambered exhaust. That's Frat, F-R-A-T, like, you know, a horrible drinking experience, and Onic, because why not just put Onic on top of anything? It supposedly
there's a Z in there too. It's so Fratzonic.
It supposedly gives the Challenger a soundtrack.
If you haven't heard this thing, this is an EV with an exhaust. Boiled down, it's an EV with an exhaust, and EVs don't have exhausts. There's a pretty good chance you rolled by a Tesla these days because they're everywhere now.
Right.
Teslas don't have noise. The only noise those things kind of put out is, you know, either a little bit of tire noise from the road, some pop in like extra noise so that you know it's backing up and what have you. You know, this is an actual like exhaust that they put on this.
From what I understand is that it's amplified noise played through a speaker, and that is 100% where this thing completely loses me. You're not gonna fool those of us who are into cars by putting a fancy fake. It's fake. What do we love about cars? One, right? So what's the first mod we typically do to our cars, and the first mod you did to your car, your current car? Exhaust. What is the best? Okay, fine. Second mod.
No, exhaust. I didn't do wheels.
So you did exhaust and a tune, and then you even posted how epic that sound was multiple occasions on our shorts, reels, etc.
Including today.
And that's what I'm getting at. First, well, my Mustang came with a custom exhaust, and then the first mod I did was headers and, well, an intake manifold, but headers with the full exhaust gives a glorious experience, even if it won't get into gear now. But story also, for another day.
So basically, it's a chambered exhaust. The way that one article kind of put it was it's sort of how like a pipe organ works, where you have like forced air going through pipes, and you have different like obviously different tubes for different noises and different openings for different pitches and stuff. So that's the way that it was sort of described in one article. I don't really know if that's 100% true. I don't know if it's speaker boosted. There's an amp in there too, so there has to be some sort of electronics helping to obviously amplify. You wouldn't have an amplified sound without an amp. So it's one of those things where it's sort of, we don't really kind of know what it is until we can really dig into it. And this is a concept, so no one can do that yet. Chad, do you think...
Hold on, real quick. Couple points of order. Keith, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Welcome back. Love to have you here.
What's up, Keith?
And then secondly, I'm going to need you to shush for a second because I figured out what I did wrong. So here we go. Here's the noise. That's the sound this thing makes. Now, I will kind of concede that it doesn't sound bad. It's just fake. And like you said, it goes through, it's like basically a trombone in the marching band, which I guess you like because you were in marching band. So
I mean, I'm not a huge trombone fan, if that's what you're saying.
Where's the noise originally come from? That's my question. And if it's not mechanical in nature, I want nothing to do with it.
Right. Normally, I would agree, but here's the thing. For me, I'm going to take the opposite side of this. Here's the deal. I don't like how silent EVs are. I'm an enthusiast from the ICE era. I really like how fast EVs are. Very awesome. I love instant torque. As an enthusiast, if you don't love the instant torque of EVs, you need to reassess your enthusiasm because it is legitimately mind-boggling how fast these things are. The other side of that is there's no noise, and that's sort of the really visceral response because these EVs sort of are a one-trick pony in that respect, where you only get the acceleration, and that's all well and good, but unless it comes with noise, I'm not the big fan. However, in this case, I am a big fan because they are trying, at least trying, to make EVs more exciting. And they've heard us, the enthusiasts, saying, stop with this EV nonsense. Please just give us something. The biggest thing everyone says is they're silent. Then they go into the whole, like, oh, you know, range anxiety and blah, blah, blah. The first thing every enthusiast says about EVs, it's silent. So I applaud them for trying to do this. Now, is this the best application of this? No. I don't think so. Will they get it right eventually? I think yes. Because if they can potentially do something like this, they could, in theory, use wind noise, as they were saying in the article about like a pipe organ, you know, when the car is actually moving, to make interesting sounds and noises and make it sort of
flatulate on down the road.
Yeah, you know, EV farts, you know, whatever. Trademarks, patent pending. You can't use it, Dodge. Don't.
So here's
I think they're in the right direction. I think it's good. Just to sort of wrap up that, you know, tirade that I was on. I think it's good. I like the noise in the sense that they're at least trying to make it more for the enthusiast as opposed to just letting it be soul sucking and making it just another sort of Nissan Leaf kind of thing.
A few points of order. Number one, Yashim, what's up? Welcome back. Yes, it does sound like an early clip from an early video game or Forza or what have you. Keith it's cringe. Again, I don't necessarily hate the noise. I don't like that it's not real. I would almost rather them have an old school record player, like gramophone style thing, and like literally on the axle, there's little bumps that make noise, and they amplified that through just a big boom tube. I don't know what that would sound.
That's actually a really good idea, honestly.
You know,
because
like
there's so many other things on a car that make noise, like or just have rotating mass in some other way. You know, you could put it on an axle, put it on a wheel, put it on a brake caliper, put it on this, that, and the other. Like, you could do a whole bunch of other things to make noise, obviously. But, so I think that's a very good and salient point.
But to your point that they're trying, here's the bottom line. I guarantee you the people who are going to buy this are going to be one of two people. They're going to be the ones who are curious, or they're going to be older, and they just want something that reminds them of their youth, which could very well be us. I'm almost 40. The big thing is that we want real noise, real mechanical noise. It's just like if you put, like, you ever see the turbo whistles? In my opinion, this is the exact same thing on it. Like the turbo whistle and the exhaust that makes it sound like you have a turbo when you don't. And to me, that's just, I cannot wrap my head around that. I would just assume they figured out a way to magnify the electric whine. Because I do think the electric whine can sound cool. I like Israel's comment. Imagine going down the road and hearing a Moonlight Sonata. Like you actually can have music playing. That's
I'd be cool listening to Cannon. I'm cool with Pac Bell just like blasting down the road. Let's do it.
I'd like to see Numa by Tool.
Yes.
Shane, custom states my car sounds like a wind turbine going down the highway. Love it.
Christian actually had an interesting point. Did BMW do something similar with the exhaust sounds through speakers in the i8? Yes, they did, but that's not the only ones that have done it. Actually, Ford did it with the Focus ST and the Focus RS. They
That's
actually
almost
had bumped-in
ubiquitous in
sound.
performance cars now because give the
Yeah,
refinement people want. The sound
yeah. The
suffers.
Focuses did it with a tube, I think, into the A pillar. There are ways because cars have gotten so chunky and full of sound deadening for safety purposes. Like if you get in a 1995 Accord and you get in an Accord from now, the 95 Accord is going to be way louder because there's next to no safety stuff around you. It's basically just the metal of the door, and that's it. There's no like curtain. There's no airbags. There's none. There's no beefed up firewall. There's no beefed up door panels, anything like that. So cars have just gotten inherently quieter because of all the stuff they've been putting in for safety purposes and other reasons. But if you have to do it, that's what has to be done. And I'd rather, like you're saying, I'd rather a pumped in sound than something fake and through speakers.
Right.
However, I'm still in the camp of good on Dodge for trying to make this actually work. I really think that someone will get it right. Dodge might not get it right. They're sort of the pioneers in it. This is, as far as I know, the first EV to make any kind of noise like this.
Here's the thing. It's all going to come down to sales. If this bombs because of it, and they, let's say, remove it for year 2, year 3, or what have you, nobody's really else is going to try it. And that's just going to be it.
Yeah. I don't see this bombing. If it looks anything like this, it looks great, honestly. It looks very nice. Design is on point. It's similar to the Charger and Challenger currently. So, I mean, I think I think they're probably going to sell a bunch.
They'll probably sell a ton.
People that have Hellcats because they're going to want to be like, oh, I have a Hellcat. I'm going to try to buy this too.
What is this? The electric cat? Yeah, Keith makes a good point. It won't bomb. Dodge community is huge, to be honest. People want that logo. Totally get it. But here's the bottom line. Dodge is supposed to be electric in 24, if I'm correct, right? Like, this is the last year.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though. For the 4 years where there's no Camaro, or at least none that we know of, on the horizon after the current gen kind of runs its course in a couple years. Here's the thing. In that 4-year period, are you going to get this, or are you going to buy a Mustang GT? Or higher. If the enthusiast likes what the enthusiast likes, okay, the Dodge guys want the Dodge stuff, but it's like, I like V8 noises, I want modern tech, I want the new stuff. I'll get a Mustang because the only reason Dodge is outselling the Mustang with the Challenger is because Ford ran out of microchips. That's it. It's not because people wanted more of the Challenger. It's just because Ford couldn't sell enough. Like, they made them and sold them.
Right.
They sold out.
Look, credit where credit's due. The Challenger has been beating the Camaro, for several years running now, and they have been taking market share from the Mustang, chip shortage or not. They have been taking a little bit of market share,
right? With literally early
1 or
2000s Mercedes chassis.
I made a point on a video we did for the Shifting Lanes main channel last year that the current gen Challenger, obviously it's going away, but the current gen Challenger was very much like an American 911 in the sense, not in performance categories, and I made that point too, very clear, but in the sense that the design really hasn't changed in 15 years of production almost. I think more now. And
yet it still took market share.
Come around to the looks because you don't change a lot about the car. It's a nice looking car. People sort of be like, oh, well, the Mustang has evolved a little bit. The Camaro's butt ugly now. The Challenger's looking really good. And a lot of people sort of came back around once the whole retro modern thing happened. And everything went retro modern. The Challenger didn't really change, and people started to come back around to it and thinking, oh, this is a really good looking car. And it is a good design. I like it a lot.
I think it's a big testament to... It's a testament to the fact that people want old school, loud, obnoxious, and they just kept throwing different engines in it, right? First it was the Hemi, then it was the 392, then it was a higher output 392, then Ford just kept knocking their doors off with the GT500 variants that were making more and more powers. But they're like, screw you, we're going to make something with 700 horsepower. And then just exploded, and that reinvigorated the Challenger and Charger, in my opinion. And the sales numbers kind of back that up, but it's just kind of shows that you don't need to be the latest and greatest and still sell. Like, just think about it. Every year that a car is in production, it gets more and more profitable up until you hit issues like raw materials or something like that, or this. But in
Right.
theory, every year a car is in production, it becomes more profitable, and that's just what they were doing. And here's the thing: to be
Yeah.
so embraced by that and do a complete 180, it has some of the old school Charger vibes. I'm not 100% sure about the rear end. It doesn't look. It looks like there's too much sheet metal there.
Yeah, I would agree. The rear end's a bit is
I
probably
get
the
why
only
they
place
did
we're
it,
not
because
100% on.
the C pillar is straight off the '68 Challenger. The rear quarter panel, same basic thing. The rear lights, same thing. So to make that all in a package that is safe and legal. I mean, not that this concept car is legal, but theoretically speaking, this is the
Right.
design language they'll use. Safe and legal. It's this. It's that hard points thing again, right? Why does the Supra look
Sure.
the way the Supra does? Because it's draped over a Z. That's kind of the thing there.
Right. I think we can sort of wrap up this conversation right here and move on to the next thing. However, I want to make an interesting point. This is the second EV that we've had in the last month that has been supremely retro in nature. And this is a pretty retro design. I mean, it stays true to the current Challenger and the current Dodge design ethos, which is fine. But this is definitely markedly retro than the current Challenger and Charger. And the other one, Hyundai Envision 74 concept, which we talked about in a previous stream. And if you don't know, we have a highlight on that on our Shifting Lanes 2 channel. So please go subscribe there if you're not. But we talked about it. This could be the next sort of like frontier in car design where it's all retro, futuristic, very cool. And I really love how the design of that one and this thing look, because
Yes.
it opens up doors for something very different, very cool, and I can very much get on board with.
Absolutely. Like, here's the thing, right? Eventually, if you're an electric vehicle, you have a fixed range, it takes a long time to get that range back. You want something that's the most efficient design as humanly possible. Therefore, all electric vehicles are going to start at some point looking the same, apart from a few things here and there. But you can't change the laws of physics. I love that they're making
Right.
interesting ones, stuff that has retro modernness to it. Like that I will agree with. That needs to continue. We need to see a Model T looking EV. Real quick,
They have that.
I'm sure they do. Well, the first cars were electric. And anyway, Israel again.
True.
New era mechanics going to pull up with suits and ties and laptops. Agreed. You're still going to have brakes and wheels and suspension to work on, so they're still going to have to get somewhat dirty. So maybe it's not like an Armani. Israel raced a minivan with his 93 Miata and got overlapped twice. And I think someone else here had the unfortunate event. Doug, raced the Supra today with my S60, came in second place. Hey man, podium finish. Be proud of yourself.
So yeah, I think wrapping this part of our conversation up, I'm excited, and I think what they're doing is very cool with the exhaust, particularly. Is it there yet? Probably not. Does it sound great? Not really, but it sounds better than nothing, and that's where I'm at. And I want to see them do more of this moving forward for sure.